Hi guys, and welcome to a red light, as usually in Brussels. Now it's green and let's start this review. Today I'm sitting in the hydrogen-powered Toyota Mirai. And for me, it's a brand new experience. I've never driven a hydrogen car, and I don't think that many of my European audience has actually seen or driven a hydrogen-powered car, because those are really rare. It's not, I know this was built for California. At first, it was then commercialized in Japan and Europe and so on. But there's some things you have to know before you consider this car. So let's talk about it. So first of all, with these reviews, I like to start talking a bit about the design, may it be exterior or interior. And with this car, this is a bit controversial because I personally think, at least I thought when I first saw it in picture, that it was ugly as F. Once I saw it in person and got to spend some time with it, I realized the front is actually good looking, but what the hell happened in the back, Toyota? Like, we have to talk about it. I mean, I tried to find some excuses for that, just I couldn't manage. It's just ugly. It looks unfinished or like rushed. As far as the interior goes, it's amazing. This interior is more like a Lexus interior than actually Toyota interior. And besides the dash, which yes, does resemble the Prius a lot, the leather is great, the cabin is super quiet, and every material has been chosen to reflect the upper end value of this car. So I can say I'm pretty happy with that. The whole center dash is touchscreen. I mean, it's touch sensitive, everything from air controls to the infotainment system, the GPS and everything. And now you can probably see me. Now you can, good. So yes, the infotainment system and all that, it's all touchscreen and it works fine. It works far better than it did in the Prius and the older Toyotas I've had with the similar system. And I can say I'm happy with it. What's weirding me out a bit is the center speedo does remind me a bit of that minivan Citroen, well, actually as well as the Prius, but that Citroen minivan, I think it's the C8 or something like that. It's just weird. I don't really like it. Though at night it's very comfortable for your eyes because you don't have all that light coming straight at you. It's more offset and it's good. I mean, the car could use a nice heads-up display. I think that would be maybe one of the little things that could have been added to this car. Moving on to the seats, I just want to mention how comfortable and good looking and well made those seats are. Again, very Lexus, very good. I love them, and I just don't have anything bad to say about the interior cabin, except maybe the fact that it's a 4-seater and not a 5-seater. You have that center thing in the rear that doesn't move. You have some like cooling and heating seats command on it, an ashtray and stuff like that. It's practical. I mean, it does give you an upper luxury feeling, though the car from the outside doesn't really reflect that. I think the main thing behind this car, the main word is, actually there are two words. First of all, it's futuristic, and second of all is weird. And I think they kind of go together, and you can see that it reflects everywhere from the design to from the interior to everything else. And the combination of those two words, they kind of reflect in the car. You can see it as well on the exterior design as on the interior and the features and the layouts and everything. So yeah, it's futuristic and weird. Alright, that being said, space-wise, I just want to say this car is about as big as a 5 Series, a Citroen C5, an E-Class. It's 4.9 meters long or so. It weighs 2 tons. It's a heavy car, you can feel it. And space-wise, in the interior of the cabin, it's all fine. Headroom, legroom, everything. Everyone is gonna feel super comfortable. But the trunk is so small. Like, I understand they had to fit those H2 containers. There are 2 actually, yes, not 1. They had to cut space somewhere. You cannot really take this car through Europe because you might have a huge problem refilling it, and that's something I want to talk a bit later about. But yeah, except the trunk, I don't really have any complaints with the comfort side of this car. Actually, I have to say that the suspension, oh my god, the suspension is amazing. It's better than a 5 Series, it's better than an E-Class. It's that good, you know? It feels like a luxury sedan when it comes to suspension. It rides that comfortably. And this is one of the biggest plus points for this car. The second one being, I'll tell you later, so keep watching. But yeah, so far that's one of the main reasons I would consider this car. Alright, let's talk a bit about the specs now. This car is hydrogen fueled, air liquid fueled car. It kind of drives like an electric car. To give you some numbers, it has 155 or 54 horsepower and about 350 to 355 Newton meters of torque. And what you really feel, especially at launch, is the torque, because this car is torquey. It really behaves like an electric car, because in the end it's an electric car. And the only difference you can see between the electric and this one is if you really accelerate it hard, you're gonna hear like a small pump noise. And you can see when you start the car, you can see some vaping from those pipes. You see water coming out. It's stuff like that. You barely notice it. Most people, if they didn't see, because this car is really covered in advertising, you can see this is a hydrogen fuel car. But if you didn't know that and you didn't have the advertising on it, you could probably think like, well, that's a new electric car from Toyota. Interesting. But it's not. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not that. That's what I meant. Quickly, this is a front wheel drive, and 0 to 100 is somewhere around just under 10 seconds, they say. I think it's more like 10 seconds. It's not really quick to 100. It does launch pretty good and you feel the torque, but especially if it rains a bit outside, you lose pretty much all grip. So yeah, you spin the front wheels and that's it. You don't really advance that much. Fuel consumption, that's the other weird thing I wanted to mention, that the fuel consumption statistics on this car is like in kilograms. You like waste a kilogram of air liquid for 100 kilometers, which is weird because I'm used to liters. So saying kilograms instead of liters is a bit weird, but you get used to it. And once you understand the concept, this car was rated somewhere about 0.6 to 0.8 kilograms of air liquid or hydrogen, dehydrogen actually, per 100 kilometers. You know, I'm not an engineer. I don't want to get into how this car actually works, and because I don't really get it. I try to get a grasp of the knowledge, but it's maybe too complicated for me. I know the basics. I know it's the hydrogen, I know it's oxygen, I know there's a reaction, I know it produces electricity, and you know, the basics. But as far as consumption, all that goes, all I can tell you is what I actually averaged, which is, let me check that in real life. Well, right now I'm at 1 kilogram per 100 kilometers at an average speed of 20 kilometers an hour, because I've hit dense traffic and I've been driving for about an hour now. So I mean, today, ever since I started the video, I've been, yes, driving for about an hour. The magics of editing, you don't see that, I do. So yes, it's a bit more than advertised. Then again, I didn't drive it really carefully. I'm not driving eco mode or anything. I'm really enjoying the car since I don't have it for that long. I've only had it for 4 days and I already have to hand it back, which makes me a bit sad. Yes, because I like this car, and that's where I wanted to get to. The other reason I would buy this car, it's probably because it's cool. It's uncommon, and I like that. I mean, this is kind of a conversation starter. People notice the car, they see the advertising, and then they immediately get curious. They don't have to be you know, interested in cars to be curious. They're interested in the technology behind it. And like, I got messages, for example, on my private Snapchat or so on, because I was snapping the car. I got like, wow, this runs on what? Hydrogen? Water? What? And they were super curious, and they asked me a few questions. And you know, it felt nice because, first of all, this is an eco car. It's 0 emissions, as you can see advertised. You'll see that you probably have seen it in the images from this video, that it was pretty well advertised. And yes, 0 emissions, and that kind of interests, especially young people nowadays with a more ecological mindset. They're interested in that. So I got messages like, wow, interesting, so can you tell me more about this car? And I did, at least as far as I knew, and as far as I could help them get some more information. and that was nice, you know. So it's a conversation starter, it's something new, it's something special, it's something enjoyable. So yeah, this is the other big plus point, but that's up to you to actually experience and see if that's the car fit for you, because you have to know this is an expensive car. I mean, with taxes and everything, this is about 80,000 euros. And that's a lot of money. I mean, in comparison, here in Belgium, for the same amount of money, you can buy like a brand new M2 and 520D second hand. I'm not talking the G version, like the just before that. It's a lot of money. You can even get yourself an M4 for that amount of money. It's a lot of money. You can get a Maserati. You can get many cars for this amount of money, but none is the Mirai. So I think that was more aimed at people like who own a company and something like that. It's very eco, gives a nice image, and you can't actually buy it. From what I understood, you can actually rent it. You pay like a subscription, sorry, per month. It's like what Volvo is trying to do with the new Polestars, electric cars they're building. It's very new age, it's very futuristic, it's trying to pave the way to the future, and that's cool because that's the name. Mirai means future in Japanese, and that's really cool because that's the car of the future, and it uses the infrastructure of the future, because people don't want to own cars anymore. They want to experience them. They want to have a drive. They don't want to worry about that. They don't want to worry about down payments and having someone take their car away. They just, you know, if there was possible to have a subscription model like Porsche is using in the United States and so on, I think Toyota hit that right there, because if you come short on a payment or anything, you just unsubscribe it. If you don't have the money anymore, you can unsubscribe and give back the car. You're not losing any money, you're not paying I don't know, maintenance or anything. It's basically just getting it, use it, and give it back when you're done. I don't know if I completely agree with that, because I still like owning my car and, you know, making it my own, but that's a way of seeing things. And I can't really put a value judgment on that, because more and more people seem to be interested in renting or owning without owning, you know, just leasing cars and stuff like that, because you take less on depreciation. It's maybe smarter. So is Mirai the future? Maybe. Is their infrastructure the future? Most probably, because I've seen many companies starting doing that, not really in Europe, but around the United States. You can see more and more, as I was saying, such as Volvo or Porsche. So that remains an open question. But before ending this video, there are two things I want to say. First of all, the biggest letdown of this car by a huge margin, and the only thing that ruined a bit my experience, brakes. I mean, what the fuck happened with those brakes? Why did you put so bad brakes on a car that's amazing? I'm not saying this is powerful, I'm not saying this is a sports car, I'm not saying this is supposed to have the quickest and most responsive and whatever brakes, but those are really bad. Or I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the tires, maybe it's the pads, maybe, I don't know. It only has 80,000 kilometers. It's a press car, and I know it's well maintained. I think just the brakes aren't coping with the weight of the car, and that's a bit sad, because sometimes under heavy braking it feels a bit unsure, it feels a bit uncertain, and I'm not saying it's dangerous, but I don't feel all that confident in the brakes, and that was my biggest letdown with this car. And finally, the last thing I want to mention, I mentioned hydrogen refueling and so on. I want you guys to know that, for example, here in Belgium, there's only one station to refill this car in the whole country, and that's in Zaventem, near Brussels, near the airport, so on. And I'm heading there about now, because I want to see if you can actually refuel this car from empty to full in about 3 minutes, or so that's how they advertise it. So I want to show that to you guys, and I want to see how it all works, how the infrastructure works, because I know there's a limited amount of refills the station can offer a day. It's something like 30 or 40 or something like that, because dehydrating hard to stock. So let's head there and see how it works. Alright guys, we just got at Zaventem. There's a small pump where you can refill your car. Looks a bit strange. I mean, from the outside you'd think it's a regular pump, but I don't think it's the same system. Let's see how it works, and we'll talk about that when I'm done. Alright, so bottom line, it's not as easy as just going to a normal pump. But once you get it, it's pretty easy. You just have to put your card in, which to me was provided by Toyota. Otherwise the fuel is a bit expensive. It's like almost 10 euros a kilogram, so that's kind of expensive. What else? You just have to lock it well in place. Make sure to do that if you have one of those or drive one of those. Just lock that pipe in there so it stays locked, because you get fuel at 700 bars, which is high pressure. I would say high pressure. So yeah, as for the time, sorry, that's not my phone, that's my phone. As for the time, I got 3 minutes 19 seconds 0.8. You can probably see that. Yeah, so it's about 3 minutes, though it was only 4 kilograms that entered in this car. Apparently I still had some left, though my range was at 21 kilometers. I mean, I did my best to come as close to the end, but I guess the reserve is bigger than I thought. Maybe it has more than it announces on the screen, which is good, but yeah. Bottom line, a bit trickier at first, but nothing special, nothing that will blow your mind or will take any special skill, as the person who's holding that camera for me, who's probably getting annoyed right now. So I'll end that. I'll end this review now because I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to say about this car. Bottom line, it's a cool car. I liked it. It reminds me a bit of the Prius. Yes, it has some weird quirks and features. Yes. Is it a great daily? I think so. It's just that good. I really loved it, and I really struggle to say something bad about this car. And besides the brakes and maybe a lack of a bigger trunk, I don't think there's any downside to this car except its price. Also, because 80,000 euros with taxes, starts at 60 without taxes, and with the help from the government you get about 6,000 euros, sorry, here in Belgium. So it brings it down from 66 to 60,000 euros, which is still a lot of money, but 80 for regular people who are going to pay the taxes on it. So yeah, that's a bit much, and the fuel is a bit expensive, and you only get one station. Yeah, I just think that's the car for the future, not for right now, but still a cool car. That's it for today, guys. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Yeah, start by subscribing and then do the rest. That would be cool. But subscribe. You can turn off that camera now. I think they got it. Come on.